Awesome. I just loved all of those. So thank you all for sharing. Wesley, thank you. DeRose, thank you. One of my favorite songs. Thank you for just sharing that. So fitting, um, that love at rest, the seed fall beneath the winter snow in the spring becomes the rose. Rest in that hidden place, uh, that place where it seems like there's no activity, but the spirit is at work, just energizing us from the inside out. I want to take a few minutes here to just allow us all to just share, where we're at, any plans for the summer, or what's your idea of rest? How do you rest? And how do you incorporate activity in rest? How do you incorporate recreation, fun in rest? Or the two of them, opposites? Or can you do both at the same time? So just want to open it up and just allow us to share with each other. Carrie, you can chime in too if you would like.
I'll begin. I love this topic. I think that oftentimes, well, I'll put it this way. I think that rest is a form of resistance, political resistance, and a form of healing. And ultimately, healing is also a way of creating space for yourself. In a world where we are often told that productivity is, the goal, um, the main idea, I tend to disagree because I get very burned out and overwhelmed when I am constantly going. So when I am resting, it is a mix of honestly just laying around, and that is okay. And honestly, being acknowledging some of that discomfort I feel, or even guilt that in some ways I have internalized by doing nothing or, by being lazy. But laying around feels good. So when those feelings and thoughts do come up, I tend to just like correct them, acknowledge them, but then tell myself, it's okay, or that's not true, or just kind of rephrasing it for myself. It's almost like when you tell yourself positive and loving affirmations. Um, so that's one thing. I also love to connect with nature and spend time outdoors, even if it is just sitting in the yard, soaking up the sun, or sitting in the grass and observing. Recently, I really love the sound of the wind in the trees. It's very prominent to me lately, and I noticed it the most. I listen for it now, and that feels almost like a form of rest by actively listening to the sounds in nature. Riding my bike and watching the world go by at my own speed. I feel empowered because, it's a little vehicle, but I'm in control of it, and I have to be courageous sometimes when there's a lot of traffic, or like you have to make last minute, or yeah, you have to make decisions on the spot, especially in the city. Um, and then also going to the ocean and the water and floating in the salt water. I think the salt water is very, very healing. And I guess you could say that's quite active in some ways, but it's also a very good way for restoration in my experience. Um, I think I'll also say building new friendships. That does take a lot of mental and emotional energy, but lately I have been pushing myself to reach out, and it has been really rewarding to learn new perspectives, get to know people's stories, and like have a stronger network in some ways. Like not everyone has to be your best friend, but you could still be acquaintances. You could still collaborate together. You could still like visit and have a meal together every so often. Like that is very important at this point in my life. So those are a few ways that I find rest.
Awesome, awesome. I like where you begin. Rest is a form of resistance,
Mm-hmm.
certainly to the system who we live to work. Uh, we
Mm-hmm.
we work to live versus live to work.
Mm-hmm.
And so to slow it down intentionally as resistance and refuse to get caught up in that. And then all the
Mm-hmm.
things you shared are on my list. So thank you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Wesley, I have a question for you. I was thinking, I know that music is your life, it's your occupation, it's your profession. and you do it well, you do it excellent. But for those of us that aren't musicians, for me, music and listening to music is a form of rest. One of the things that I'm planning to do is take piano lessons as a form of my rest and recreation. But I was thinking about you and someone who music is who they are. Do you rest from music? Do you rest in the music, with the music? How do you use that activity and rest together?
Oh, those piano classes sounds exciting. I'm happy for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is a complex subject because it's as a job sometimes um, music's my job, but music is also my hobby, and then it's to find this balance. So what I kind of trying to do is most of the time I take time from listening to things that are not my job. This is my rest. So sometimes I take time for music, but as a form of rest for my ears. I have to keep working, but so sometimes I prefer to listen to podcasts or to other things to so I don't listen to music sometimes. I don't Many of the times I don't put music in my car unless it's very specific. So that's sometimes how I rest with music. It's very interesting. I have to kind of find this balance because I have an ADHD. So when I listen to music, even if I'm having fun, my brain goes in, and then I'm not resting anymore. I'm like, oh, I have to learn this. So many times I just listen to the music that I have to work with, and I take time from listening for fun, and I prefer to talk.
Hmm.
I call people. I call my friends. That's how I do it. I'm not sure if it answers, but that's how I do it.
No, no, that makes a lot of sense, Wesley. And thank you for sharing that, how you balance that and how you incorporate the two. Last Sunday, yeah, I think it was last Sunday, or the last Sunday, Sunday before, I saw Gregory Porter at NJ Pack, and he sang "Take Me to the Alley." His whole concert was awesome, but there's something about that song that just goes all through me. And I didn't know this about him, that his mom was a storefront preacher, a little church in the hood, kind of like myself, and kind of rejected from the mainstream organizations. And so she started this mission. I think he said there were 8 of them, 8 children, and and so she went to those places and did those kind of things that the others didn't do. But coming out of that concert, I felt so refreshed, so renewed. It was as if I had been resting for like on vacation for weeks. Just the energy of that music and the soothing of him playing and all of that. It really was, for me, it was recreation, it was rest, it was peaceful, it was just what I needed in that moment. I just felt like a new person. Uh, and so I just appreciate what you and other artists do to help us, people like me, who crave the music, who feed on the music, who rest in the music, to help us find that place. So thank you for what you do. So who else? Nadia and Bettina. Nadia, I got a question for you. I know Nadia.
Nadia had to leave
Oh, that's
early.
right. She
She
told
sent
me.
a message.
Yeah, she told me that, and I forgot. I had wanted to ask her because I know she travels a lot, and she loves to travel. That for some of us, travel is exhausting. Packing, unpacking, the airports, driving, however you're going. But for some, it is a form of rest and relaxation. I don't know about Bettina, you and Brenda, or even Wesley. Um, I love getting where I'm going. I just don't like the journey, going through the airport, um, the wait and all of that. Once I get there, it's like, great. But then, oh, now we got to go back through that all over again. And or even if it's driving, the roads are so treacherous nowadays. You're so tense just trying to get through. Sometimes like angry drivers. to go where you're going. But getting there is once you get there, it's a former. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I know Bettina, you live in the city, hustle and bustle. You know, it never sleeps.
Yeah.
I don't know when they lay their head down. How do
No.
you find rest?
Never.
How do you find rest in the noise, in the busyness, in the hecticness? And I saw you out yesterday at the vegan pastry shop, was it?
Yes, I went to
Tell us
class.
about that too, because I wanted to just jump through the screen and grab something.
It was so good. Cloudy Donut, they are doing their thing. Like they're so authentic, just their business plan, their mindset, but the pastries, like, and I like I'm not really a sweet type of person, but them with their twist and it's vegan and it's just so it tastes so rich. It's good. You gotta try it. You gotta try it.
Yeah,
It's
I definitely
so
will
good.
next time in your busy city, my
Yes, it's
urban city.
good. Yes, it is something to talk about. I agree. And how I rest, I'm I force myself to rest. Like I was just having this conversation with somebody yesterday. I was like, yeah, even though on the weekends I do like to participate and like to go to like all of the fun block parties and stuff in Brooklyn, but it could be overwhelming for me because it's so much people, so much noise. So a lot of times I don't go. I'd rather stay and I'll make myself stay in the house. I'll have everything in the house that I need and I'll just shut down and rest. Like you have to make yourself rest. Because if not, like you're saying, you'll keep going and there will never be a balance. That's why a lot of us New Yorkers look older than what they supposed than what we do because people don't have a balance in New York.
Yeah, it's like nonstop. But then I know, Bettina, you always add a little bit of those spirits in too to help you just take it down, right?
Yeah, it works out. Yeah, it works out.
You do what you got to do.
What you got to do. I try to do it just 2 days a week, if that. But yeah, definitely got to just take time, self-care day. It's a balance. You definitely have to be like, I'm working these days. Let me just take this time, do what I gotta do in the midst of the chaos and just keep your head straight. Tunnel vision. You have to have tunnel vision in New York.
Refocus, focus.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Okay, so here's one for all of us, and I definitely want to hear from each of us. I know we've all been impacted this year by this administration in different ways. I know for Wesley, it was up close and personal in many ways for Wesley's community and extended family and musicians. For all of us, we have been just the anxiety that's been in the atmosphere, um, and the noise and the rhetoric and the craziness, even in our city. And I'll ask Carrie if you chime in on this in a minute. We started this year here in the South Ward, and I love this city, but we've had a number of violent deaths. I think twice since the year started, we've had someone killed either right in front of our church or right down the street from our church, like a stone's throw. Twice this year. My daughter was here one evening doing some work at the church, and she pulled up, they were shooting outside of the church. Recently, over the last 2 weeks, there was a young lady, a 16-year-old, that got killed like right around the corner. And then in another ward, a young man, I think 16 also, was shot and killed. How do we find rest and quiet our mind when we live with that kind of violence around us? We're not in a war zone, but in a way we are. So two things: for the climate in our country and all that's going on, the uncertainty, people being laid off, losing their jobs, good careers, people being snatched from their workplace, children from their parents, moms from their children, dads from their families, thrown into cages without how do we find mental rest? I mean, we can lie down and go to sleep when our body is tired, but how do we rest our mind? And more importantly, how do we rest our soul when we're confronted with all of it? Wesley, how have you gotten through this year? I know it's been hard for you. I felt it, I've seen it. How have you managed this? And how are you managing?
Well, one thing that I had to do this last, I think, month, I had to delete my apps.
Mm,
I would still have the, I didn't delete myself, my profiles, but I delete some of the apps because that is this addiction to the situation, that is the anxiety. So that is this moment that you're going there, just addiction, browsing addiction. And what I realized that this is very scary too. I deleted my social apps, and then eventually I started receiving news, even in Spotify.
mm.
And Spotify now is giving news. Now I open my Google browser, it gives me news. If I don't do anything, there is a friend that sends something to me on WhatsApp. There is something that sends, and I kind of on an email. So what I was trying to do is reduce the amount of information. It's just so I know the things are there. I know people are being, going through many things. I am myself have to really be careful, but to me, the amount of information I had to reduce. And one thing that gives me rest, at least, I have to find a way to fight, but not fighting in a physical way, but fighting with my art, fighting with projects. So when I'm not doing any project, I feel tired. When I'm not doing anything, if I just let it go, then I feel depressed and I want to do nothing, and then I get more tired. So to me, I chose this job that's very interesting. My job is when I rest when I finish the project. So when I do something, and then as I do, and then I was like, this is when I feel good. This was being so to me. That's what I've been doing now. I took some time. I'm going to Portugal next week.
Mm.
What it was the kind of mix of we I have to do something there, but I'm gonna also take this as a as a form of leaving the US a little bit. And but to me I'm kind of fighting on my own way. I'm making art. I'm helping my community. I'm call them. That's the only way I feel that I rest doing something. I don't know if it makes sense.
Oh,
If I
yes.
do nothing, it seems that you know.
No, I understand that so well, Wesley. And part of what I had shared last week and part of my 40-day rest is I'm going mute on all of my social media platforms because I recognize that it is an addiction. And I struggle with this. I think we all have our own monkeys on our back, our own different addiction. But I've struggled against that balance between what got me and what do I have? Is it controlling me or am I controlling it? And that urge to check it and see, and that insatiable appetite to know what's happening there. So I'm going off for 40 days. I'm not looking at it. I'm not checking it. From starting the 28th, the evening of the 28th, which is my granddaughter's birthday. So I got a post about her birthday. From then until September the 6th, I think it is 40 days. I'm not going to have any social media contact. And it's for my mental health. That's how I feel. For my mental health. I want to just step back from it and lose that urge to click, to click that little button and see what's there.
It's
So that,
it's interesting, Sandra, that sorry to interrupt you, but
no, go ahead.
because I work with this, when I stopped, you start losing jobs. So that is also the anxiety of leaving.
Mm,
So I have to leave just for in a certain amount of time because if I stop sharing what I do, you kind of are
forgotten.
forgot, and then nobody calls you, and then it's you gotta also find this. This is the new world.
It
But I
is.
think a few weeks that we have, if I wasn't a musician, I would promise you I wouldn't be in a social media if I could.
Yeah. It's interesting how the news then crops up on your other platforms. It's like the information age that we're in, they need to just, it's the devil of our time. It just wants to bombard us with this information. I mean, it's the drug. And how do we get away from it?
Yeah, and that information is very interesting because if you go to a different state, they give you a different information.
Mm.
My friend is from Florida. He moved here. He moved here, no. He came here visiting this week, a friend of mine from childhood. And then he said, "Whoa, all my news changed."
Oh, interesting.
And so that is this whole thing, it's, I think, I don't know, definitely there is something there that we have to find rest of. We gotta be careful with those platforms.
We do. We do. I'm going to ask Carrie to just come join me for a second and just, how are you dealing with the city? What's, you live in these streets. Come on up. Come on up. You live here, and you contend with the city on a day-to-day basis. I leave here, and then I come back. I did live here at one point, so I know what it is to live in the hood. I raised my children in the hood, but you're still here. And how do you manage? I mean, you hear what's going on, you live it, you experience. How do you find peace in yourself?
Just people, places, and
Hold
things.
hold the mic so they can hear you.
Just people, places, and things for me. I know certain neighborhoods I know I'm supposed to be at. I don't go there no more. I stay in the house. I rest. I get up. I speak to my moms. I just do a lot of like positive things. Ride the bike, go to the park. I just try to stay away from the negativity. That's it. A lot of rest. That's all I do.
And even with it all around you, you can carve out a space where you can find some peace.
Oh yeah, yeah. My mom's a big piece of me. I call my mom. I talk to her about everything. I watch TV a lot. I try not to watch a lot of negative stuff no more. So, I listen to motivational speeches.
Who's the one that you introduced me to?
Trent Shelton.
Trent
Trent Shelton.
Trent Shelton. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my idol. I watch him a lot. So, I just stay away from people, places, and things. I know they don't do me no good. I just stay away. I know my lane. That's it.
And I appreciate that, Carrie.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Just put it back here. Thank you, Carrie, for sharing that. So Bettina and Brenda, the craziness of this year, we hit this year and, some January 20th on, it's been, like a whirlwind. How have you managed your own psyche and soul in the midst of all of this?
Yeah, this is I've been doing a lot of rest as well. I've been in my own little shell. In my head a lot, just trying to figure out the next steps. But yeah, basically staying away, staying in the house, try to get motivated, stay motivated, study anything of interest, try to stay in the loop as far as like new tech or anything like business as far as like coming into the universe or things of that sort. But just basically, I don't like watching the news because the news makes me depressed and, all the bad stuff. But, my mother always tell me, watch the news. You gotta know what's going on. But yeah, I don't like the news. But yeah, a lot of times I am home in my own cocoon, observing, resting.
Good for you. Good for you.
I've
Brenda?
heard the idea of like staying home is like enjoying the rent that you pay. Are you kidding me? Especially because if you have some control over like, how you decorate, how you set things up, the smells, the sounds, like it can be your sanctuary and it's a really wonderful feeling. So I love staying home. Sometimes I invite people to my home rather than go out because it's cheaper, quite honestly, and we have the kitchen, we have a bathroom, like little things. Um, but what Wesley, what you were sharing about the social media stuff and like feeling this pressure about needing to stay on top of getting gigs or like people reaching out to you, I guess something that has been helpful is at least on Instagram, for example, when I know that I have certain events coming up, like I can schedule the post So maybe I sit for a full hour and like not even a full hour, but like have a few posts ready to go and then schedule them like so that they're spread out so that I don't have to like keep worrying about it or going back to it. Like I already know it's going to be posted for that week or whatever it may be. And that has been super helpful. Like really to open the app with the intention of let me look at this organization's page and see what they are, what their schedule is like this next month or da 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 da. And when I notice myself getting like distracted or like following all like it's like a rabbit hole, I guess. But then I like kind of I have to stop myself. What was my intention? Did I finish it? Did I not? It's very interesting. It's like training yourself, like you would train a pet maybe. Um, I think, I also agree too that I have been pouring myself into my work and my creative project. And that can be challenging if you don't like the work that you do or if you're not at a place that you feel safe in or if there's a hostile environment or you're not being paid enough. So I have slowly over the last year really been shifting and like taking one thing out, putting something new in to continue curating this kind of work life. Like I call it like a quilt of income so that I don't have to just rely on one place and one employer because when I was doing that, it was not going well, not at all. So it did take a lot of courage. And honestly, sometimes there's a criticism around it too of why would you let go of like a check or an income like that? Or why would you just like take a leap of faith without knowing, what the next step is? But in some ways, taking that leap forced me to keep my eyes open and ready to jump on anything that comes. I mean, not anything, but something that feels right. Because if I just kept holding on to what I was doing, I don't know, it's harder and harder to let go of it. So I kind of forced some of that. Uh, And also, like Bettina said too, studying. I love to read. I love to watch videos. I love to, I don't know, just talk to people and learn about what they're doing. Or even if you just go to like a show, an open mic, an event, a theater production, like I always gather inspiration or learn something. Um, and that's quite fun. And then I think, what was I gonna say? It was on the tip of my tongue. That's okay. It'll come back.
Back to you, and we can end with it. Thank you all for just sharing such wonderful insights into rest and focusing and renewal. Everything you touched on, so much of it is my journey to things that I value. Wes, I related to that working and then resting when you finished a project. For me, since I was a little girl, cleaning in my house, since I was a young child, was always something that was work, but when I finished, it was like I had accomplished something and I felt rested. So, I mean, I used to find projects in my house as a child. I'm talking about 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. My mom didn't have to tell me, do this, do that. And sometimes I'd start something and I'd fall asleep in the middle of the project. And they say, what are you tore this all out now? You're exhausted. But it was like a creative project for me. So just recently, I think a week or two ago, I said I was going to clean out all the cabinets in my kitchen. I know everybody has like a junk drawer in their kitchen. I had a few of them. And my pantry, I don't think I had cleaned it out in like 10 years. So I spent the whole Saturday cleaning all the cabinets out in my kitchen. I was exhausted, but I was rested. It felt so wonderful that I did that and that I accomplished it. And I think that's where the activity and the rest balances out. Like I could have spent the day doing nothing, but I spent the day doing something that fulfilled me. I felt like I had achieved something, accomplished something, and I felt an inner rest after I had completed it. So those kinds of things, I think for each of us, there are different things, whether it's the artist that's painting, the musician that's creating music, or Bettina and her creative world, that what she does, all of us, there's something that gives us that kind of inner peace and rest. And to someone else, it feels like work. It feel like, why are you doing this? But for us, it's the place where we land and we can rest. Just a couple of things on my list as we end. Taking a relaxing bath. Simple things you can do at home. Some Epsom salt or some oils to just, at the end of the day, just chill out. Read a book. I think you said that. Reading, listening to music. One of my favorite. I had the music on the TV while I was in the kitchen cleaning. And so the music kind of floated on the music all day. Spend time outdoors. Brenda mentioned that. Spend time just listening to the sounds that you don't hear. Recently, I was at my daughter's on her patio, and the lightning bugs. I don't know if you guys used to do that, catch lightning bugs when you were kids. We used to have the jar with holes in the top, catch the lightning bugs, and then release them. And I haven't seen so many lightning bugs in years, just sitting here watching the lightning bugs in nature. Simple things. Take a nap. Those 10-minute naps, those power naps. Meditate. Meditation is one of the healing medicine. I think it's the number one prescription for just bringing unity and wholeness and peace to our being. And then exercise, moving the body, walking, something, yoga, something to get the body moving, the blood flowing. You are alive, do what you can. Chair exercises, bed exercises. Do what you can. You when you wake up in the morning, you can stretch your legs and your arms without getting out of bed. Simple things that you can do. As we close out, I just want to just encourage all of us to find that resting place within ourselves. Find that place where we land. I love it, Brenda, where you said your house, your home, your apartment. We pay enough for it. Enjoy it. Make it your sanctuary. I learned from a child, I've always, since I've been on my own pretty much, had an altar in my home. I just don't have one in the church. I have one in my home. And that's a focal point. It's a focal point to bring me back to a place of peace in my home. And it doesn't have to be anything fancy. It could be in a little corner, in a little area of your home. Let your home be your sanctuary. Some people don't like going home. I've always said, I can't pay rent where I don't want to be. I have to, when I turn that key, I don't care what's outside the door, I have to feel safe and I have to feel comfortable in my space. And nowadays, as we said, we pay a whole lot to be there. So I encourage you to, over this next summer, and we, different ones may be taking their rest at different times in our community. Some feel like they can't afford to rest. I say you can't afford not to. You really can't. Because like your car engine, you can't afford to change the oil and get your checkup. Well, then eventually you're not going to have a car. It's going to conk out on you. It's going to stop moving. And then you're going to be in a place where you said, I wish I had her. Take care of yourself. Do this for your spirit, your mind, your soul, and body. As we close out, the only announcement